Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Plotcast. I'm your host, Chris Sambrook.
And I'm Nate Slater, and today we are celebrating 30 years of PlayStation.
Hello, and welcome, everyone. Today, we are going to be discussing everything PlayStation. Just recently, on September 9th, Sony just celebrated their 30 years of PlayStation. So, we figured it would be a good time to discuss our experience with PlayStation and get into our favorite games of each generation. So, Nate, you want to start us off with we're going to go through the top three of each person.
Yeah,
And if when one person is going, they say something that you wanted to say, we'll just use something else. I'm sure we've got enough games from each generation that we're going to want to talk about anyway. So I'll start with you with PlayStation 1. If you want to say the first, what you think will be top tier for your PlayStation game rankings.
of course. So, first of all, disclaimer, folks, I am just getting over a cold, so I apologize if my voice sounds a little hoarse. But anyway, getting into
Nay.
it, you guys didn't know I was a horse, did you? I'm a horse, of course. So my number one pick, which I might get a lot of hate for because, almost seems like a cop out. My number one pick for my favorite PlayStation 1 game of all time is Final Fantasy 7.
Oh,
I've
I was expecting Metal Gear coming from you.
No, no, no. Final Fantasy 7 was literally the first PlayStation game that I experienced that was before I even had PlayStation. My cousin's friend and my friend, literally, I met him through my cousin. But anyway, he had the PlayStation. We'd always go over and I'd watch him play Final Fantasy 7. I'm just like, oh, I want to get this game. And lo and behold, a year later, when I got my PlayStation, I got Final Fantasy 7, and that was it for me. Like, I played that game. I
That's
beat it so
It's
many
so
times.
funny you say that because I remember in the schoolyard, some kids wanted to play Final Fantasy 7, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. And I always got stuck playing Sid, and I had no idea who the heck Sid was. And then I saw it at the game store, and I was like, oh, I must have that. And
And you know what? You are kind of a Sid character. You're kind of
of course,
cynical and
Grumpy.
crazy and grumpy. Yeah, especially now that you have kids.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's funny that we have relatively similar story, Final Fantasy, and yeah, I got dragged into it too. That was gonna be my number 2 pick, so I'm gonna have to
Oh,
change
okay.
up.
All right. So I don't want to get because this list is going to be long, folks, for each of us. Like, literally, for me, I have 10 for each system, which I'm not going to go through all of them. We said top three. At the end, we'll give some honorable mentions. But yes, my number one for PS1 is Final Fantasy VII. What is your number one, Chris?
My number 1 is Metal Gear Solid.
Really? So you
It
thought I was
is.
going to take Metal Gear from
I
you?
did. Well, you took my number 2, so
That's actually my number five, sir.
that's your number 5. Oh, let me guess, VR Missions is number 2, right?
Yeah. Metal Gear VR missions. That's my number two. No, it is not. VR missions is nowhere on my list. But anyway, so well, like, I
Yeah,
mean, we
so I mean, obviously for me, the biggest part about that game, um, or the reason that it took the number 1 spot, it was the first game that made me just kinda stuck for about a week because I couldn't figure out to look at the back of the actual game case to figure out how to continue. The fact that Hideo Kojima was breaking boundaries when a lot of us were discovering video games is crazy for one. But yeah, the whole it's breaking the fourth wall and fifth wall and sixth wall. Like
every wall.
you never really and nothing really prepared me for it because Baker at the time, he's the one that tells you, "Hey, yes, just check on the back of the CD case," and he hands you an optical disc drive, and I thought it was an item in the game that I had to look somehow at this disc drive to look at the back of the case,
Well, I'm right
and
there with
I
you.
I couldn't figure it out for the longest time until someone at school said, "No, he's talking about on the actual cover of the game." I'm like, "Oh, great." Obviously, when I got further through it and we have a boss fight and they're reading through my memory card, I'm just like, "Wow, whoa, this game is next level."
It
And
is.
it continued to be as they went through, each generation of game too. So yeah, that hit my number one. I think a lot of people would agree. It's kind of on most top 10 lists.
Oh, yeah. It's on my top 10. I
Uh,
mean,
but but it's there for a reason.
yeah. I mean, like I said, if you checked out our other video where we talked about demo discs and Metal Gear, if you watched it, you found out how I found out about it. I got a demo disc, played the Japanese kind of version of it, and then ended up getting the 2 demo discs later, getting the English version, and it was so good. Like, it's in my number 5 spot. Maybe now I should put it at number 4 just because of hearing you talk about it again, and then I'm still playing 3 Delta. Ugh, but I just feel like maybe I feel that way because I'm playing it, so I felt
Yeah.
like 5 was a perfect spot for it, but, yes, great memories. It is a great game. It is a top 10 contender for sure. Um, I guess, is there anything else you wanna say about your
No,
number 1
no.
Metal Gear?
I
Alright.
mean, there's plenty of time in future podcasts, I'm sure, to talk about Metal Gear.
Alright, well, because I went first, I want you to tell me your number 2.
My number 2 is Final Fantasy VII. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, it is, but, I'll
Uh,
skip to my number 3. Tenchu Stealth
I
Assassins.
remember that game.
Yeah, I played the crap out of that
I'm
game.
surprised that's your number 2, to be honest.
Why?
Because there's so many other great games, but then again,
There are.
it's one of those left field games that you wouldn't expect, or I wouldn't
No, it's
expect
it's
from
not
you.
even wouldn't expect. It really just comes down to how much I played it. I loved the series until it completely migrated to Xbox and left PlayStation behind. That
Yeah,
was annoying.
it's okay. I mean, there's always a chance now because they're sharing
Yeah,
games.
yeah. The time has passed. Anyway, so that would be my number 2. What would be your number 2?
My number 2 is a game that they only made one of, and then they turned it into some spiritual successors. I think you know where I'm going with it. My number
Yeah.
2 and it's funny because on my list, my top 4 are RPGs. So my number 2 is Xenogears. That game had me at hello from the anime style to the cool like combination combat that they had with it. And then it had mechs. It had kind of like chi abilities, which reminded me of Dragon Ball. It had everything a boy could want. It was so cool. To this day, I still want, like, a remaster or something of it. I'm tired of remakes, but I am not tired of if that gets a remake, I'm buying it day one. I don't care. Like I said, watch the demo video. You hear me talk about it
That would
more.
be the one that has you break your pre-order rule?
Yes, I'm gonna do
Pre-order
it.
day 1.
But it was so good. I mean, granted, I guess the other reason why it caught my eye is because it was essentially episode 5. So they did the whole Star Wars thing with it, and the only way you find out that it's episode 5 is when you beat the game and it says Xenogears episode 5 and you're like, "Wait, what?" And you're looking up everywhere trying to find where are the other episodes. There are no other episodes. That's why they kinda give you a little backstory a little bit throughout the game, but not much. But Star Wars started with episode 4, Xenogears started with episode 5, and then went nowhere else. But
That
that
sucks.
game was just so awesome. I got nothing else to say about it, otherwise we'll be here much
All
longer.
day.
Yes,
Yeah.
what's your number 3?
I have a tie here, and they're both JRPGs.
Mm.
But one of them I feel is on your list, so I'm gonna go with the other, and I'm gonna go with Vagrant Story.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know what's on your list.
No, no, but
Uh,
what is your no, if it is your true number 3.
no, 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 like I said, it's a tie, and both of them are for very similar reasons. They're both JRPGs, they're both fantastic, great stories, unique in many senses. But they also both, unlike regular RPGs of the time, didn't stick with the standard combat. They had different styles of combat. They weren't just generically turn-based. Select attack, they do an attack.
Yeah.
And I loved it. So, Vagrant Story will take the top pick because it relates to something later on. Um,
Didn't Vagrant Story have the thing on the disc where it said, "Turn to the other side to see something ugly," or something like that? It was just your reflection?
no,
Was that what it
was it?
was?
No,
I
I
think it
don't
was
think
that
that was
game.
that one.
There is a game that does that, but I thought it was Vagrant
Yeah,
Story for some reason.
no. Vagrant Story was, a
Right.
Squaresoft, well, a soft.
It was Squaresoft. I
Yeah, it
remember.
was Squaresoft. It was made by the same guy who started doing Final Fantasies, particularly known, number 12. I think he did
Okay.
number 9 as well. Um, but it was number 12 was in the same universe, in this on the same planet kind of deal.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Ivalice.
yep.
Same place where Final Fantasy, Tactics. Oh, that's one
Yes.
that I forgot to put on my list. Well, it doesn't matter now.
Yeah. But yeah, so I loved that game. I loved the way that it played. I loved the way that it thought outside the box. I mean, I was obviously still relatively new to JRPGs, but that was one that was very much different than the rest, and I loved it.
I will say the PS1 era was the era, in my opinion, for JRPGs. That's where everybody got introduced to it,
Um,
in my
to
opinion.
a point, I think there's definitely a lot more JRPGs on uh, PS2.
Well, like I
Um,
just said, introduced.
yeah, yeah, sure. It's
Alright.
definitely what made them popular. Final Fantasy, it's starting to become a real big name after number 7, and I think that brought a lot of people in.
Alright. My number 3 is The Legend of Dragoon.
That was
That's
it.
that's another game that people have been clamoring for either a remake or a sequel for years, and it was developed by Sony Studios themselves. Why they never made one, God only knows. It made them a bunch of money. They kinda ported it to where you can get trophies and stuff on the PlayStation Store, but they still won't give us a prequel, sequel, remake, which might be for
Anything,
the
yeah,
best, but
maybe.
this game was so cool. The fact that you could do an attack, hit the button at the right time, continue the attack to do bonus damage. It was cool. And then the added element of like a Power Rangers kind of thing where you're transforming
Yeah.
to get extra powers.
Yeah.
You know, the 90s Power Rangers were all the rage here in the United States. And, you know,
Still is. Fortnite has a
I'm,
Power Rangers thing going right now.
I mean, for me, I'm not in the Power Rangers anymore, but when I was a
Oh,
kid,
that's a lie, we both know.
Morphin time. But no, the game was just so cool because it did so many different things, and it was also the characters didn't look like little blocky, you know, kind of Final Fantasy VII
Yeah.
characters. They look like as best they could for the time, like
Yeah, it
adults.
was closer to Final Fantasy VIII's graphics at that point.
Yeah, yeah, and
Just a little
it
smoother, I think.
yes. Actually, no, I think Final Fantasy VIII was a little bit smoother, now that I think about it,
Maybe.
but either way,
They tried to put a lot of detail in what doesn't allow for a lot of detail, you know?
yeah. And then the thing that was kinda really crazy about it is that the final boss had, like, 5 forms, I think. So you had to kill
Yeah.
the final boss 5 times. But it was relatively easy because you could just keep transforming your characters, have them like, use their abilities and stuff like that. So it was cool.
It was
Um,
also one of those games that's always fun where the more you use the ability, the more it itself gets stronger.
it is? I can't remember. It's
Yeah.
been so long since I played it. But,
Yeah, I
oh,
think,
yeah, 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 yeah. Because if you kept using the thing to attack it at,
the additionals, yeah.
the additions perfectly, you get the next addition. But, yeah, that game is my number 3. Surprisingly, I was able to get all my top 3 without messing up
Ah, so you
you
are
messing mine
lucky
up.
I didn't
Yeah.
grab that one at the end. So do you have at least one honorable mention for PS1?
I got plenty. I'll just say all my honorable mentions, and then you can say yours. Uh, 4 is Valkyrie Profile, which
Yep,
is a
there you go.
JRPG. Number 5 is Metal Gear Solid. Number 6 is Resident Evil 2. Number 7 is Dragon Ball GT Final Bout. 8 is Tekken 3. 9 is Twisted Metal 2. And 10 is Final Fantasy 8.
Yeah, Twisted Metal 2. Yep. So yeah, you've got a couple of mine, so I'll just one other that you missed that I
Okay.
love is Soul Reaver 1
Okay.
and 2. And we did get a remaster of that recently, and it is fun. It's still
Okay.
fun to this day.
And as a bonus, Final Fantasy Tactics. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
All right. So that covers PS1. Now let's go in to the golden age, in my opinion, of PlayStation.
Yeah,
Arguably the best PlayStation to date.
PS2.
PS2, because I went first with my number one. Chris, what is your number one?
So my number one is also tied, but I'll start with this one because A, I know you don't have it, and I know you don't have the other one either, so I'll get both of them. Final Fantasy 12.
Ooh, and you're
Yeah,
right. I do not have that on my list at all because it was my
yeah,
least favorite Final Fantasy.
I know. I loved it, and I think Vagrant Story had a lot to do with my loving it. Obviously, there's a vibe to the stories and, the art. I loved it. Storylines almost of Star Wars, where you could compare just about every character to a character in the original trilogy. Um, and it was kind of that reverse twist where Star Wars is um, futuristic but acting feudal. This one was feudal acting futuristic.
And that's kind of the one thing that I was kind of irked about because I felt like I was just playing Star Wars. That's my only gripe about it. I played it, I beat it. It was okay for me, but
Yeah.
you know, that's just me.
I also like the fact that you could set up the battle system, their gambit system, so that you never even had to battle. If
Eh,
you were very detailed, you could have everything set up so you just walk over there and just annihilate everything.
I think you don't have to do anything. What Final Fantasy 7 kind of had that. You just, I think it was like auto play or whatever. I can't remember. It's been
Yeah.
so long. Um, but yeah, I get you on Final Fantasy 12. It was innovative, but I felt it was too similar to Star Wars to like, it just kind of threw me off. My number one, just the very first God of War. I was totally against playing this game. And then I went over to our buddy's house one day, Sal. Shout out to
Yeah.
Sal. And he's like, "Oh, you gotta get this game." I was like, "I saw the trailer for it on TV. It looks dumb. The graphics are stupid." And he's there playing, fighting the Hydra or whatever. And I'm watching him play, and I'm like, "Yo, this game's actually pretty cool." Well, how old was I when that game came out? 17, I think, around that time. And then he beats the Hydra, and then you see the women there. I think at one point, and you're like, "Wait, what?" Okay, that was the teenage part of me there, but actually playing the game itself, it was so freaking awesome. You could just do crap, like rip people apart, and the puzzles, they were so annoying, but they were so fun at the same time because it was so cool on how intricate the developers had to come up with all this stuff. And
Right.
then at the end, when you beat the game a certain way or whatever, you get like the bonus videos and you're like, "Oh, wait, this could happen next or this could happen next." For the most part, none of those things happened, although yes, in some future games they kind of touched on them, but I thought that game was cool.
Right.
And it is one of the few games that I have been told to play, which you know because you've gotten me into another game that I did not want to play, but
A
it's one
couple even.
yes, it's one of those few games where I'm like, "I'm never gonna play this," and then I see some gameplay, and then I start playing it, I'm like, "Okay, you got me. Let's see what this is about." But God of War, the brutality, the sexiness, the mythology, and the puzzles all together, it made it one really great game, and for the time, the graphics were decent. So, I really enjoyed it,
Yeah.
and the fact that they made more and it's still going shows that, there's some life to it, and it's still
Yeah,
going.
I will say that the first 3 didn't really catch me.
I know
I
they didn't.
played the 3rd one more so than anything. It was just because they, you know didn't really follow Greek mythology. I had read, enough of it to be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
this is way off." And that just kinda irked me at the time. Obviously, it got significantly better, especially with the Norse side of it.
Yeah.
And I have become such a huge fan since. But yes, I when it first came out, I very much hated it.
Yeah. I
Um
mean, they're not gonna be one to one because first of all, they're all Greek myths
Oh,
anyway.
well, yeah. It doesn't have to be just to appease one stupid teenager.
Of course, that's true.
Uh,
Like I said, it did not interest me at all until I saw gameplay, and then I got irked into playing it, and I was just like, "Yep, I'm in love."
yeah, so, yeah, no, I get where it comes from and everything. It just wasn't for me at the time.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna jump right into my number 2,
please do.
Silent Hill 4: The Room.
Oh my god, I forgot about that game, and that is a game you had me play. I wasn't against it. I don't think I was against that one,
You were a little against it.
but
You're like, "I
you had
played
me
number
play it,
3 and I didn't really care for it."
but it was a good game. It
It was
really
really
was.
good. It was, the first one that when I beat it, I was like, "I'm gonna get more endings." I hadn't done that with any of the other, Silent Hill games. I just beat them once and was like, "That's good enough for me."
I don't know. Did you tell me there's more endings? Because I don't remember that. I remember just beating it and totally thinking like, did they just rip off Event Horizon?
Yeah.
Because they had like
No,
the black hole that they had, the demon summoning black hole or whatever. I
one
don't know
of the
which came
endings,
first.
yeah.
Yeah.
Event Horizon definitely came first, but yeah, no, I got a pretty good ending the first time, and I enjoyed it. But I was like, "There are better endings than that. Let's see them all."
Okay.
It was enough that I was like, I enjoyed going through that game enough to put myself through it again and again. Um, and honestly, I think there's only a couple of games I did that with the PS2 era. My favorite of the Silent Hill series until they redid number 2. I didn't really appreciate number 2 when I played it, I guess. I enjoyed it, but not enough to be like, "Oh, I'm gonna get more endings or anything."
Yeah.
But the remake definitely brought me back in. Um, but yeah, number 4, The Room, it was just perfect, especially for the time that I played it. It was great.
Yeah. I gotta agree with you on that. My main apprehension for Silent Hill was big Resident Evil fan. I played number 3, and I was thinking it was gonna be like similar to it based off of what people had told me. And then it just the vibe was different. And I just gave up too quick on number 3, so that's why I was just like, "Yes, I don't think Silent Hill's whatever," but after you explaining the game to me for 4, how, you're trapped in a room and you gotta get out, and there's all these things that change, and it's spooky, and I'm just like, "Okay." That was the selling point for me on the game, and that this is leading into my number 2, which my number 2 PlayStation 2 game is Resident Evil 4. That
Yeah, I
game
had a feeling.
I have beaten so many times, and that is saying something. Freaking, I beat it on every difficulty just to unlock like the laser beam or the what was it, the hand cannon, the what's his name, the merchant. It's just called the merchant. He's like, "What are you buying?" But when you get the hand cannon, he's like, "Stranger, stranger, hunting an elephant." And it's just like
Yeah.
these little quips he has is so memorable. But that game I have beaten so many times, I'm cross-eyed. But that it just even they even recently said that that is the most replayed game ever,
Yeah, I can
if
see
I'm
that.
correct.
Well, I mean, it was different for a lot of reasons. They made it significantly bigger, the graphics were significantly better, but they also took the controversial move of changing it from that classic horror that the other games had to a more action-oriented gameplay.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was divisive. A lot of people hated the fact that it did that, but it didn't change the fact that it was like such a top seller. Significant number of people played that game, so it's just one of those things that lives in a lot of people's memories, and typically fondly. Because even if you had a gripe with it, I think a lot of people after they played it all the way through, that changed.
Yeah. and it was different, but it still kept the vibe of Resident Evil, and I think it worked 'cause till this day, like, they remade it, and the remake, in my opinion, is even better than the original,
Oh, for
which is
sure.
very hard to do. So, congrats, Capcom. Your remakes recently for the Resident Evil franchise. Resident Evil 3, you could have done a little bit better, but for the most part, they're really good. Keep it up. And from there, what's yours?
So my number 3, I'm gonna have a lot of honorable mentions here, but
Yep.
my number 3, again, based off of what I probably played the most, Persona 3 FES.
Oh, actually, that's not what I thought. Okay.
You do remember me playing that a
I
lot,
do. You
though.
played that a lot, yes. And
Yeah,
I didn't get it, but you got it.
yeah, so I had some gripes about the remake. While it looks significantly better, there were just some things they took out that I wasn't a huge fan of, especially them making the choice of separating the answer, which was a portion of FES. It was like the true ending, if you will, a significant portion of the game. They decided to resell it as DLC that was released later
Mm,
for that remake, and that I really didn't like. You know, if it came as FES, a one whole game, it should be sold as one whole game.
yeah.
Um, but yes, the game itself, especially for the time I was in high school, it was great. It hit all the boxes for me at that time, and I have very fond memories of the story, the gameplay, abusing all the little secrets. So, Nate, what is your third and final PS2 game?
Alright, so number 3 was very hard for me because there's so many games I've played to
Yeah.
death, um, and it's probably not on your list, but you know it's on mine, is Baldur's Gate, the first one. It was the first kind of top-down RPG I've ever played. I'm pretty sure, well, aside from Diablo, the first one, which I also played on PlayStation, but I played it on PC first. But anyway, Deadly Alliance, it was just so fun, and then they made a sequel to it, and it was just so cool because it was a different RPG than what I was used to, and you could just, equip swords, you can equip their armor, and you could see what they look like with it on them, and the graphics were really good for back then. You're like, "Wait, what is this? They actually look like humans. They don't look like squares." Everything was so smooth on the characters. It was amazing.
Well, I
And
think that was one of the huge breakthroughs of the PS2, right? Especially with like certain games that people instantly think of, like Metal Gear Solid 2. You have the smooth characters. Um, uh, what else was there? Oh, Final Fantasy X
yep,
was very significant at the time. Just the lack of obvious pixelation that we had gotten
yeah,
so used to,
thank God.
and yeah, it's so good and refreshing to even just think about the nostalgia of that upgrade. That is like the definition of going from one generation console to the next.
And the best part about the PS2, PS1, yes, it could play CDs so you can listen to music and your PS1 games. But PS2 was the complete package. You had CDs, you had the games, and DVDs. It was the
DV
ultimate package. You had 3 in 1 for one price. To this date, PlayStation hasn't outdone themselves with that. Maybe PS6, we'll see. But yes, so honorable mentions, you wanna say yours?
Yeah, sure. So, Metal Gear Solid 2, for sure.
Yep,
I played that significant amount of time.
right there with you.
Um, Wild Arms 4.
Never played.
Anyone who's played any of the Wild Arms games knows how much fun that is. 4 was very different. They took a different approach. They had a hexagon system, and I absolutely loved it. I know there's a lot of people who hated it. I loved it though. So that was my favorite Wild Arms at the time. And then there was also Dragon Quest 8. That that was one of those games that was so long and so massive. There's lots of stuff to do, which was different for that time. You know, we were used to, especially from PS1 going into PS2, there was a lot of games that were very linear.
Yeah.
Just follow the story, and then when you're done, you're done. That was just absolutely insane with how much detail went into it. Also, the fact that Akira Toriyama
Yep.
did the artwork for it, which he had for just about all the games. So, you know, it makes sense. But uh, for me at the time, that was very significant. And I don't think I even beat it while I had the PS2. It wasn't until I got the game again on a different system, you know, a downloadable version of it, and I eventually beat the game, and I love it even more so now. It's very fun, and it's nice to see that they're doing a lot of the Dragon Quest remasters.
Yeah.
Let Because the stories are some of the best parts, and the fact that they're lost to age, when they do bring back old games like this, it gives a whole new generation a chance to experience it, which is great.
All right. Well, I remember I did I play Dragon Quest 8? I know I played one of them. I thought it was either 9. I thought it was on PS3, but I guess not. Maybe it was that game.
Yeah, so that one was the one with the main character looking like Gohan with a bandana on.
Yes, that is the one I
Yeah,
played.
okay.
Okay, yeah, that is the one I played. That was not in my top though, but I did enjoy the game.
Did
And
you
they had
beat
the
it?
one. I did beat it.
Yeah.
I did. I don't remember what happens at the end of the game though. I just remember the one guy who looked like Trunks was pretty cool.
Yes, yeah, there was that too, yeah.
And then so my honorable mentions were, as you said, my number 4 was Metal Gear Solid 2. Number 5 was Devil May Cry 3. 6, Final Fantasy 10. 7, Dead or Alive 2, which, you
Yeah.
know, I beat many of asses in that game. Grand Theft Auto Vice City was my number 8. Number 9 was Champions of Norath. And number 10 is another
Oh,
game.
yes. Champions North, I do wanna just throw this out there.
Do
That
it.
first and second game was phenomenal. That
Yeah.
actually, I did think of it when making my list, I just forgot to write it down. Um, yes, I just that moment where you go from the first game and you start up the second game and it goes, "Hey, do you wanna use your memory card, your save from the previous game and continue with your character?" Yes.
You're
What a
like, "What?"
pleasant surprise. Yes,
That is
that
one
was
of the few
fantastic.
games that ever did that, which is awesome. There was a PS1 game that kinda did that, not really, it just gave you some bonus stuff. It was, I'm gonna pronounce it wrong, it was either Suikoden or Suikoden, I don't know, I've heard 2 different pronunciations,
Yeah.
but if you had the first one and the second one, you could get, like, a bonus, and you could get the main character from the first one into the second one, but,
Yeah, no, I will say that crossover from Champions of Norath to Return to Arms, um, they did a better character transfer than Destiny did to Destiny 2.
which is
So,
weird.
yeah, so, you know, new game developers or current game developers, they need to look back at how it's been done and figure their stuff out because it was done better before, years and
Yeah,
years before.
much agreed, and you would think it'd be easier now, but apparently it's not. Um, so my final pick is another game I have kicked many of ass in, which is Guilty Gear Zex, which that
Yeah.
game was so good, especially when you get the gold characters. Me as Gold Saul, good night. Anyway, that's kind of cheap anyway, but so we've given you our best from PS1 and PS2. Now let's move on to PS3.
Yeah, so PS3 was another huge step. We have now Blu-ray capability. The size of games increased dramatically, which was kind of always, as at least at that point, Sony's major thing, right? They went from cartridge to disc being on PlayStation 1.
Yep.
For those that don't know, PlayStation was not originally just going to be a Sony thing. It was made for Nintendo, and they couldn't come to a deal when it came to profits, so Sony released it themselves. Um, and so they were initially, kind of a part of the whole cartridge family upgrade to disc. Um,
Partridge Family, that's funny.
yeah, I'm glad you like that.
I loved it.
Um, But yeah, so now that they're on disk, that was a huge leap in not just technology, but size, space.
Yep.
And then you go from that to the PS2, where it wasn't Blu-ray, but they did have those blue discs where they were kind of discussing it had just bigger um, potential to hold more space.
Yeah.
And the games did get bigger. Between graphics and the stories could hold so much more. There was so much more mappage in games. Um, and not everything was just a direct walk through point A through point B, a direct linear game. That being said, when the PS3 came out, you introduced Blu-ray. It was a significant jump. It wasn't just, hey, we got these kind of blue discs. It was like, this is different.
Yeah, they're dual layered.
Yeah. It's like, "Hey, guys, just try it and you'll see."
You're gonna find out how
Yeah,
big this
so
game could be.
let's start off with your number 1 for PS3.
I get to go first. My number one, which I don't know, you probably think it might be a different game, but my number one is The Last of Us. The first game, it's a masterpiece. Naughty Dog, in my opinion, owned the PS3. Hit
They sure
after
did.
hit. Um, it they really took storytelling to the next level. PS1, PS2 storytelling, in my opinion, was mainly seen through RPGs. I mean, you get
Yeah.
some other games, but for the most part, good stories came from Naughty Dog in the PS3 era. And to this day, Naughty Dog, although some people may disagree, can make a great storytelling game. And
Yeah.
The
Well,
Last
they've
of Us,
always been story focused. And that's kind of like the big thing, right? Is like if you would play a game with dulled down graphics if the story's fantastic.
yeah,
But then when you play another game that has a crap story, but the graphics are phenomenal, you'll still play it a bit, but then you may get to a point where you're like, nah, I think I'm good.
yeah. And Last of Us was, in my opinion, that is peak Naughty
Yeah,
Dog
it
right
was
there.
everything. You had it all. And Naughty Dog had such a weird history. They have had pretty much nothing but hits throughout their whole history,
True.
but they were very limited because of certain leaders in Sony not liking certain things about the way they would do business. For one, they started off with um, Crash Bandicoot series, and they didn't want Crash to be the face of PlayStation because of their interaction with Nintendo and them having Mario, a kid's figure, a kid's game. Well, they wanted things to be far more mature. And when Crash Bandicoot became such a huge hit, it kind of accidentally became their kind of stand-in mascot,
Yeah.
and they didn't like that. So when PS2 came around, they did the Jack and Dexter, and of course, we saw Jack become way more mature as they went through that series.
Yeah. But Last of Us, right from the get go, that opening sequence when you see, Joel's daughter get killed, it was like that had me there. And I'm like, yo, I got to see what happens. And then we get to the end and we see it's a whole kind of full circle father daughter kind of relationship. And, someone who lost their daughter had to go through to kind of bring himself back to kind of reality, or what he would even do for someone that he had a chance to save. So, yeah, that's my number one.
Yeah, I
What's
it's
yours?
funny that you say that because I do remember we both had pre-ordered that game or got it day one at the
Yeah.
very least. and we were kind of playing side by side. Like, hey, how far have you got? Did you get to this part? Yes, no, okay. I don't want to spoil anything if I'm a little ahead. And we would just discuss the things that we did experience because, like, every segment of the game was an emotional hit.
Yeah. And funny enough, I got 2 different versions of the game. I got the one version that came with, like, the booklet that tells you about the game, and then I got the $600 edition, which came with a limited edition comic and the statue, which I have since graded and sold, the comic twice over, which I kinda regret because now I want it back, but I will get it eventually. Anyway, that's my rant there.
Yeah, so, this actually does fall right into my number 1. My number 1 is Uncharted 2.
Ooh, that's my number
That's
2.
Yeah, that is such a solid game. The second one, so I didn't get the PS3 when it first came out. In fact, I think I waited a whole year before I got it. And when I did get it, I got the Uncharted 2. Um, I didn't really care for the idea of Uncharted 1. It sounded like Indiana Jones, and I just didn't care at the time because I didn't know anything. I didn't watch any trailers
Yeah,
or anything. But I think it was around Black Friday, so I had got number 2 at such a great deal, that I tried it, and when I played that whole opening, I saved it, I stopped it, and I said, "I'm just gonna go to the store, buy the first one, play that so I can fully enjoy this."
and you know what?
Um,
Naughty Dog had a great sales point with that number 2. Just play the opening. If you didn't play the first one, you're gonna go buy it.
yeah, that opening was one of the most incredible openings I've ever seen. I think Aminutia 3 was like
Oh,
it
yeah.
couldn't be beat for the longest time, and then that came out, and I loved it. So yeah, after I beat the first one, which I ran through, I just quickly ran through to get the story. I played on easy, just ran through it, and then I got to number 2, and I was like, "This is phenomenal." And I remember the online play, how you
Yeah,
could play as the Chimera or Nathan Hale. I loved every aspect of it, but the story alone, the writing alone, the conversations felt so fluid, so real. Number 2 is still my favorite in the franchise today.
same
Uh,
here.
and and I did love number 4. Number 4 is very high on that list, but number 2 was, I mean, it was my introduction to it, but it was so Hollywood. It was
It
so good.
was,
Yeah, and, yeah, again, Naughty Dog knows how to make a game. That
yeah,
they put the time and effort into it, and it just goes to show what a lasting effect it can have on people. I went
and
out and bought an entire different game just to play that one.
and the thing that was great about it was the multiplayer, not just the story. The story was great, but the bonus was the multiplayer, and, like you said, they had the crossover with other PlayStation, titles as characters in the game for multiplayer, and that was fun, and the only thing that I can say about the game that, you didn't say was that it's leading into my number 3, which is now my number 2, Uncharted 3.
Ah, yes. I remember the advertising campaign for that. It was so solid. The I'm not sure if you remember with Subway with the $5 footlong having
Yes, I
Nathan
do.
Drake do it. That was pretty cool.
And I remember they had the beta 'cause I think you could get, like, DLC codes or something like that to play the beta early, and I remember you could, like, record, um, like, your plays and stuff and post them on Facebook, and
Yeah.
I think you could get bonus stuff for doing that. I can't
There
remember.
was an app. Or was it a MySpace or Facebook, game that
I
was
think it was just
attached to it?
Facebook. I think it was just
Yeah,
Facebook. I can't
Facebook.
remember. But I
I
remember.
remember, yeah, posting stuff through there.
Yes, I just remember, like, getting so many cool plays. That's the one thing I will say, in my opinion, that 3 had over 2. 2 introduced the multiplayer, but 3 freaking streamlined it. 3 had the best
Yes.
multiplayer out of 1 or 2 and 3 because 1, I don't think had multiplayer. I
No,
don't
it
think it
didn't.
did, no. Yeah. So, where Uncharted 2 had the greater story, Uncharted 3 had the better multiplayer because you could, get combos and you could get like little trophy type things or medallions, and you
Yeah.
get enough and you can use your special, which you could have like a carpet bomb, you could have like a cluster bomb, you can rocket launcher or
Ah,
something
I
like that.
remember now. You collected treasures while playing, and you
That
could
too.
share them with people on social media.
Yep, and the treasures were so hard, and you wanted to get the golden skeletons, and my buddy Josh, that guy, he had to get his golden skeletons. By hook or by crook, he was gonna do it. In fact, I met him by playing Uncharted 3. He was talking crap to people, good old Call of Duty way. And I was like, "Yo, I gotta talk to this guy." And we became good friends since. And through him, I met my other friend Brian. Shout out to Bodhisattva. Uh, but yeah. So Uncharted 3, great memories. Multiplayer, fantastic. And I guess that ends my number 2. So, Chris, what is your number 2?
My number 2 is Red Dead Redemption, and for those of you that don't know, Red Dead is kind of a mixed bag. So, and I say that with the numbering because there was Red Dead Revolver that came first. Red Dead Redemption was technically the second game, and then Red Dead Redemption 2 comes out and confuses everyone, being the third title.
Technically, Red Dead Redemption I think they said
It's in
it's
the
like
same
a
universe, it's not an actual thing, though. I mean, they did have the characters from Red Dead Revolver in Red Dead Redemption,
okay.
but it was only online as playable characters.
Oh, okay.
And the online obviously isn't canon in any way. It's not the story
Yeah.
of Red Dead Redemption. So yes, it also marks the transition since Rockstar purchased it and created Red Dead Redemption. They did not create Red Dead Revolver.
Yeah. All right. Um, so yeah, Red Dead Redemption was a fun game. I wasn't on board with it at first just because I thought Grand Theft Auto was, that was
Was
cool.
it was it the Undead Nightmare that brought you on?
It was the Undead Nightmare, and who told me about that?
Oh, well, yeah, I have a
You.
feeling.
That was you. So it wasn't a game I didn't want to play, but it was just not a game I was gonna purchase. And then you told me how good Undead Nightmare is, and I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. So I got the deluxe with the Undead Nightmare, so it's like a 2-for-1 thing. And yep, sure enough, another great Rockstar game. So yes, Chris, thank you once again for another great
Uh,
gaming experience.
what can I say except you're welcome?
Yes. So my number 3 is because number Uncharted 3 was my number 3, but taking its place is God of War 3.
Of course it is.
Yes, God of War number 1 was my number 1 for PS2. God of War number 3 is now my number 3 for PS3. It was a great end to the original God of War trilogy. Graphics were insane at the time. Gameplay, more streamlined version of 1 and 2. You could actually ride Titans. You fight and kill all the gods in crazy head ripping off ways. Uh Not much more I can say for it other than the ending, leaving you wanting for more, and the fact that you had to wait so long, PS4, to get that, you know, continuation. It really kept me wanting more, and I just feel like if they ended there, I would have been sad. But the game itself was great. Uh, Not much more I can say about it other than they did have Ascension come out, but it was another prequel game that we really didn't need when everybody wanted a sequel, but I get it. They probably didn't even think they were even going to do a sequel to it, so no complaints. What
Right.
is your number 3?
So I feel like there are 4 that could fit in here.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
that's a
It's
lot.
so difficult. And it's just down to the fact that each of these were masterpieces in their own right. But they're all very different. So I'm going to go with the game I played the most, and when you hear it, you'll understand. Many people have. This is one of those games that was released on multiple consoles, multiple generations of consoles,
I already
re-released
know what
over
it
and
is.
over and over and over. It is the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim.
I am wrong. I thought it was going to be Final Fantasy 14 or something like that. No, was it 14?
The online one, yes. A Realm
Yes.
Reborn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one I thought it was gonna be, but wasn't that a PS4 game?
It is a PS3 game.
Yeah.
Came out initially on
Oh,
PS3,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so, I didn't even put that in for my PS3 list, but yes, I played it a lot.
Okay.
But this one, Elder Scrolls V, between the many numbers of replays, the especially on PC since it had mods. But for PlayStation, I mean, I have got the platinum trophy on the PS3, the PS4, the PS5,
Jeez.
and there was the VR games, which you replay it again, just VR, which actually I will say is probably the best VR I've ever played. It was, it's everything that you expect. You're
Yeah.
you're doing the movements for the bow, the magic, whatever it is you're doing. You do movements to make it made combat actually significantly easier
Oh, okay.
because you could do sword movements and stuff like that that you couldn't with just pressing buttons.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
It
Yeah.
was fantastic. Actually, probably the best way to play Skyrim.
Okay.
That I have played significantly, but I will say I do have a lot of honorable mentions that will be tagged onto this that do fit that number 3 spot.
Yeah. I can concur. I was never a fan of the Elder Scrolls games. I played Oblivion, got lost, got turned into a vampire, got rid of being a vampire, became a vampire again, and gave up. I traded the game in and said, "Nope, too much for me. I give up." So my honorable mentions are so I said God of War 3 was my number 3. So technically now my other honorable mentions are Resistance 2, the best Resistance known to man. And I
Oh,
think,
that online play, that was the
yes,
best. I
and it was
loved it.
continuing the story. Well, it was the bridge between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And it was one of the few games where you got story in a multiplayer and it just
BioShock
worked.
2.
Yes. BioShock 2 is horrible though. The game itself, the story
Yeah, the
mode was
online
good.
is what
The
you
online,
played it
but
for.
yes, exactly, which is bad. You're playing the game. Well, it's like every Call of Duty now anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, Resistance 2, the story was good. Nathan Hale dies. You're like, what the heck? If they got to make a sequel to this, but how are they gonna do it? They killed off the main character, but the multiplayer was so fun. Like Resistance, it's coming back. If it's not on PS6, if they don't make a reboot or a remaster or something, I'm gonna riot. But
Yeah.
Resistance 2, number 6 is Infamous, number 7 is BioShock 1, number 8 is Dead Space, number 9 is Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots, and number 10 is Dragon's Dogma. What are your honorable mentions?
So the ones that you haven't said, Dead Space 2 was my favorite. I
Yeah.
love Dead Space 2. So that is right up there. Far Cry 3, that really changed the game. And Mass Effect 2. Now, Mass Effect 1, obviously really good. Mass Effect 2, phenomenal. Loved it. Definitely my favorite in the series. Um, and yeah, I played that a lot. A lot.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, with that out of the way, we're gonna move on to the PS4, which, in my opinion, PS4 was kind of trying to tread where PS2 went, but it didn't quite get there, which I feel like that's where its downfall was. So, Chris, what is your number one?
So my number one, you've already mentioned,
Oh,
is Final Fantasy 14.
oh,
Well, I chose it for the PS4 instead of the PS3. I did get
okay,
it when it came out in PS3. In fact, we played together on the PS3.
yes.
But the PS4 is where I played it the most.
Actually, no,
Um,
I played it on the PS4
you
because I
did?
only bought it for
Okay.
the PS4.
Then there you go. So the PS4, oh man, I put so many hours into that, countless hours. Um, and I played it since it started, and I continued to play it. I was continued to be subscribed, which was the part I hated the most about it. and I think even to today, you still have to pay a subscription fee to play it.
Wow.
Um, but yes, I loved the story. I loved the world building. I loved the expansions. The only thing that I really hated besides the subscription was as people stopped playing and the servers started to become a little more lax, just finding people for dungeons took forever.
Oh, that's
I
gotta
think
be bad.
that's what stopped me from continuing to play.
Yeah, and
Um
then is it still are the servers still up?
oh, yeah, that it's
Okay.
actually got a recent expansion already.
Okay. Oh, so there is still life to it. Alright.
Yeah, the characters are really well thought out, and I met so many people through that game online, made a lot of friends, some of which I still talk to today, even after I think it's been about a year since I last played it. But yeah, that I
Wow.
mean, that came out a long time ago. I put a lot into that game.
Well, you are dedicated and you still gotta pay for the subscription, so are you still paying for it?
No, no, no.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, it's been about a year without the subscription at this point.
Okay, okay. So that is your number 1. Interesting. Can you guess what my number 1 is?
There's a few that come to mind, but no, no, I wanna see. I
Alright.
wanna hear.
My number 1 is actually reminiscent of my PS3 number 1. It is The Last of Us Part 2,
Of
which
course it is.
which it was a tie between my 1 and 2, but I said, "No, I'm gonna go with this," because I also feel like it's controversial because it was vastly different from the first one in the aspect of storytelling. Granted, they did kind of fix it with a new kind of complete edition to where they have the days where you can be Ellie day 1, then Abby day 1, and then Ellie day 2 and Abby day 2, which I haven't played that mode
Right.
yet, but I do wanna play it just to see how that kinda works because I feel like storytelling wise, that's how they should have done it. Just
Yeah.
just to
I can
placate
see why
people.
they didn't. It was supposed to be this
A
big
surprise.
shock to be
Yeah,
like, "Oh, wait, the person we've been hunting this whole time is now we're gonna see their full story before the final fight really takes out."
yeah. But I feel the issue was for a lot of players is that because they didn't have close emotional connection to this character earlier on, they didn't care. They just wanted her dead. And that's where a lot of the hate
What she
came
did
from.
to Joel,
Yeah,
it's all about
which
that.
which I was right there with him, but when I saw
Yeah,
her side, my feelings changed, but a lot of people's didn't. By that point, they're like, "Oh, no, it doesn't matter what we
yeah.
see now."
I mean, obviously, when I saw it, I understood it. I respected it. Um, but I didn't necessarily like it. I
Yeah.
didn't like it in the way that it was presented with the 3 days and then suddenly, "Oh, 3 days here." It
Yeah.
did feel jarring of a cut
Yeah. I
to
mean,
go into a story.
it was definitely a lesson of an eye for an eye and kinda seeing Ellie kind of almost retread Joel's tracks and, you know, doing sacrificing the many for the one kinda thing, and she was kinda almost going down that kind of dark, like, spiral, not thinking clearly with her head, forgetting other people and just going for revenge.
Yeah.
2 was definitely more a revenge tale, and then 1 was more of a parent
Survival. Yeah.
survival parenting saga, I guess. But number 1, Last of Us Part 2, I'm sticking with my guns on that. So, Chris, what is your number 2?
So, my number 2 is Destiny 2.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you play
Again,
that a lot.
yeah, look, I had definitely with the PS4 played more online games than I ever did with any singular story. Yeah, Destiny 2, as you know, I still play it from time to time. Um, that is something I sunk a ton of time into. Love the lore, love the design. I love the story, the world building, the everything about it. I love playing it and being in that game. That being said, there are definitely story arcs from later expansions that just I didn't care for, and I slowly drifted away. And it was more or less, it wasn't so much the story that I drifted away from, because I know story can get bad and then get better, and there were some great key points. But the biggest thing I think was they kept wanting to change the way things worked and the way you played, and I just like the way it used to be.
Alright. Well, I've only played the first one. I never got around to playing 2 just because originally they're like, "Oh, this is gonna be a never-ending game. We're just gonna continue with it." Instead, they just made number 2. So they I don't know. When that happened, I was just kinda like, "Eh," they went
It's
off.
like the never-ending story, right?
Yeah, they went
And
back
then
on
right
their
at the
word.
end, it ends.
Yeah. Like, "Wait a second?" So, I don't know. It just kinda deterred me a bit, but yeah, you do play that a lot, so I could see that as your number 2. My number 2, you're not hearing this a second time, folks. This is actually God of War.
The
Conti
2018.
Yeah, it is continuing God of War, the story from number 3, but now we have Kratos older. I don't know if he's any wiser, but he has a son, and, the whole dynamic is really cool to see Kratos being more of a caretaker than he's less of a brute, even though, he's hiding his past from his son, and it comes to the point where he just has to go full Kratos and, kick some ass, and I love that game. It was really well done. Uh, I can't say it's the best God of War game, but I will say it's one of the top God of War games, and definitely a difference in gameplay, more hack and slash, but it was it's what God of War needed. It needed a fresh coat of paint, and they knocked it out of the park.
It just needed an axe that comes back to you. That's all it needed.
I guess so. That's what they needed. What's your next one?
So my number 3 is The Witcher 3: The Wild
Oh,
Hunt.
never played it.
Yeah, that is one I played a lot of. I love the lore. I love how dark, grimy it is, how morals constantly are wavering. You could think you're doing the right thing and then find out by the end that you did the absolute worst thing you could do.
Really?
Um, yeah, there was a lot of that. It's one of the games you want to replay because you're like, wow, a lot of my choices ended up being dark. I want to see how the others play out. Maybe they're better. And sometimes they were. Sometimes
Okay.
people would live because you were mean.
Now,
So
was it a game you actually replayed several times or no?
oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes, yes. I played that game a lot. I was fortunate enough not to buy it at release. My brother did, and he just like Cyberpunk 2077, there were a significant number of glitches and bugs, and he did have a lot of fun with it, regardless of the bugs that were going on. However, he let me know when it was in the best state, and then I played
Okay.
it. Also, DLCs were starting to come out, and it just made what was an already huge game even bigger.
Okay. So, I never played it. I've been told to play it, but I'm the type of person, if I can't play the first one or the second one to get caught up, I'm not gonna do it, even though everybody tells me I don't need to. I I can agree with you, I probably don't, but because of how anal I am, I gotta play 1 and 2, which I hear they're remaking number 1, so when that happens, I'll play it.
Well,
But
actually, number one technically is being remade already. In fact,
well,
we were
that's what I
talking.
said.
Well, no, that's not what I'm referring to.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
actually it goes deeper than that. You were talking recently about how a lot of games have been getting remakes and how
Yes.
it kind of started around the PS3 era. It actually hadn't. The very first major remake that became such a big hit was The Witcher 1. The Witcher
Really?
1 actually failed to meet expectations. They were expecting it to just crash and burn. The author of the book didn't really care. He didn't think there was going to be much money in it in the first place. Um, and they kind of wrote it off, but they were like, "Hey, let's upgrade the graphics a bit and re-release it, see if we can get some more money out of it." And they did, and then it really took off. It led to number 2. Number 2 was phenomenal, had a big change. They realized, what a lot of people didn't like is the focus on the elixirs of the first game. First game was also point and click,
Yeah.
so it was a significantly different style of game. Number two changed a lot, and people loved it. And of course, number three is what really took the whole studio to the next level.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what's made them a triple A game producers now.
Unfortunately, as for the show, people aren't invested in it anymore. R.I.P.
Well,
Henry
no.
Cavill, even though he's still alive, but
Yeah. Well, they have already announced another trilogy of games.
Oh wow.
So, they are continuing the story. Some people are already upset that it's not about, Geralt. It goes after another Witcher. Um, and, yeah, I think that it's still gonna be a phenomenal game.
Okay.
You can't have storytellers like that. Those who've really played the game and see how deep that they get know that the next game is gonna be phenomenal regardless who the
Okay.
main character is.
All right. Well, I hope for everybody's fans, I mean the fans' sake out there that people get what they want. As far like I said, as far as the show goes, people didn't get what they want. So, kudos to Henry Cavill for sticking to his guns and leaving the show because we need more people to stick up for the fans out there. And
And
he's
just the material in general. I
yeah,
mean, they didn't even try to go over it. That the author was at Netflix's disposal. He said, "Yeah,
yeah.
anything you want to know, ask. I'd be happy to help." They never even went to him. They didn't go off of any of his notes. Nothing.
Wow.
They just like Disney with Star Wars. They were just like, "This is ours now, and we're gonna do what we want with it."
Sad. So I guess going into my number three is a game I finally recently just played, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. So I've been sitting on this game forever and I didn't want to play it until I got a VR headset. And recently they released the trailer for Resident Evil 9. And I'm like, man, I'm getting so far behind now. At this point, I'm just going to play it. So I popped it in finally because I got the collector's edition. So I took it out of this giant box with a collector's edition, got the disc out, put it in, had it download, took forever. And then I started playing it, and oh my god, what was I doing with my life? This game scared
I
the
told you.
shit out of me.
I
Oh,
kept telling you when I was playing it, you gotta check it out. It is so good.
but it just it blew my mind on how good it was. Like I played it, I was like 10 out of 10 for me, man. Friggin' I waited so long because I wanted the full experience with the VR, but when it came down to it, I just couldn't see, you know, a reason for pulling the trigger on the VR. There's really not that many games that utilize it that are worth it. And I just said, I'm playing the game. And I did it. Best choice ever. And then I went right into Resident Evil 8 after it, and both kind of different games. Resident Evil 8 was kind of like a mix between Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 7. That's the vibe I got. But overall, scariness, my God, Resident Evil 7 takes the cake. It's like OG Resident Evil. Resident Evil 1, it gave me the heebie jeebies and
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, obviously, when it initially came out, there was a little bit of controversy because the only thing we experienced like that prior was PT,
Yeah.
which was their rivaling game franchise, Silent Hill.
Yeah.
And then suddenly the game was using this, first person style of horror storytelling. So, you know, I, obviously Capcom is like, hey, we were in production well before the or demo was released. However, you know, it is what it is. Whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter. The game stands for itself. The fact that we never even got a Silent Hills game, it good on them, even if they did copy it, because then we got something. At least we got something.
Yeah. So that was my number 3. I just had to put it out there. I thought Resident Evil 7 was a masterpiece.
Yeah. Do you have any honorable mentions for
I do.
PS4?
For PS4, my honorable mentions are Marvel Spider-Man, uh, fantastic game. Uncharted
Yes.
4, uh,
Yes.
freaking, Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Mm.
Mm, I'm gonna get some flack f I'm gonna get some flack for this from you. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Reason why I
Yeah.
put it up here because we said we weren't gonna put remakes up here. In my opinion, this is not a remake, this is a sequel. Until it's fully confirmed that it's a quote unquote remake or a sequel, it is, in my opinion, a sequel. Then I have Shadow of Mordor, then I have Infamous Second Son, and then I have Shadow of War.
Yes.
So
So
those are
all
mine.
of those I am down with except for Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Really?
Um
Didn't you play that a
yeah.
lot with me?
Not as
I
much
thought
as
you
you
did.
played it.
Yeah, I
Um
played it to death.
yes, yes you did. Way too much. I would pretend not to be online. I would hide my online status so you would not message me. Um
Darn.
some other honorable mentions that you didn't point out. Mad Max was a great game.
Oh, yeah. The pseudo
Uh
prequel to the
yeah.
4th movie, if you wanna call it that.
And then Sleeping Dogs. I'm not sure if you played that. That was a hell
No.
of a movie or hell of a game that felt like a movie. It had Emma Stone as one of the voice actresses and
Interesting.
a couple of other famous actors. Um, but it is very much a Hong Kong police undercover story in
Okay.
kind of the vein of John Woo, and there was just so much to it. It was GTA style. You had the open city, and it was just so good. The story was phenomenal. The graphics were phenomenal. Gameplay was phenomenal. It was just there wasn't much negative to say about the game other than the fact that for some reason it didn't sell. And as a
Oh,
result, we didn't get a follow-up, which was kind of necessary. And I'm pretty sure Emma Stone and the other actors were kind of lined up and expecting to continue, but
yeah.
it didn't happen.
Mhm.
And then finally, I have to throw a horror game in because this was one of probably the best horror games of that generation, and that's Alien Isolation.
Ooh, never played that one, but I heard great things.
Yeah, so good, terrifying, got the vibe perfect. You felt like you were watching the original movies again, but
Okay.
you were a part of it. And getting, main cast from the originals and
Oh,
continuing kind of the story. Yeah, so I mean, you're going into DLC there, but yes. Um, it was great, and I'm glad that they are finally doing a follow-up to that, which feels like way too long
that's
after.
pretty
But
cool.
so going into PS5, my number one is something that I platinumed with you, Helldivers 2.
I actually forgot about Helldivers.
Now, how could you almost an entire year we sunk into that game pretty consistently. And it is again one of those games I had to force you to buy.
Yes, you did. I actually don't even have it on my top 6 because I forgot about it.
But how much did we play that? That was a ritual at one
A
point.
lot, and you know what? I would still play it today, but it's just I got so many other things going on. We got a channel we're working on. In fact, we have another multiplayer, which will be our +1, our little bonus at the end of this. But yes, it is so good. I kinda might try it one of these times just to see how the Halo incorporation is going with it, but
Yeah.
it was so fun, totally reminiscent of, Starship
Starship
Troopers,
Troopers.
which I don't know why they haven't done a collaboration with that yet. It's a no-brainer.
Well, I think it's just down to the fact that they did their own game and they're trying to compete.
Yeah, but I know maybe when that game, like, dies, because at this point, we haven't heard much from that game, so Helldivers is probably gonna be the one that stands alone. Maybe they'll
I
incorporate.
I'm gonna have to buy it just to test it and do a comparison now.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll let you do the dirty work for me, buddy.
I've
Um
convinced you to buy many other games. Who's to say?
Don't let me do it on this one. Uh, so my number one kind of goes back to my number two from the last one, which is God of War Ragnarok, the sequel to 2018's God of War. If you thought the story for God of War, the Norse version was good, this one is just as good, if not better. Starts off all actiony, Ragnarok is upon, their world, and it just puts more fuel into the fire. It goes guns blazing, even though there's no guns in it. But, Kratos is really put to the test in this game. There's a lot of, are they gonna continue with the son? Are they gonna continue with him? We don't know. As far as I know that they have 2 sequels in the works. It seems
A
like it's kinda
movie,
like they have a TV show in the works too.
TV show. That's what it is.
But, as far as the game goes, sequel-wise, I think they're doing what every other game system's kinda doing, especially, like, with Spider-Man's concerned. They did a full game, then they did a mini game, which kinda like how Uncharted did Uncharted 4, then Lost Legacy was like a mini game. I think they're doing that with God of War, so they might have a mini game with his son, and then a continuation with Kratos. I don't know, but this game was really good. If they end it with Kratos, I am satisfied. If they continue him somewhere else, we'll see how it goes, but this game went, full throttle and definitely deserves its place at number 1 for me. What a
All right.
what a game.
So for me, number two is a game that is also controversial and also did come out on the PS4. The reason I'm putting it here on the PS5 is because it was complete on the PS5, and that is Cyberpunk 2077. So, Cyberpunk was one of those games that had probably one of, if not the most craziest, worst launch ever, to the point where I think they were the first company in history to, on PlayStation anyway, to actively say, "Hey, yes, we're going to refund people's money that wants it."
Wow.
Um, Obviously, PlayStation has given refunds on other things in the past, but this is one that they themselves, the company, CD Project Red, was like, "Hey, look, guys, we effed up. We released it way too soon. We're sorry. There are tons of bugs. We understand everyone's frustration. If you do not want to keep this game, which we will work to fix it, if you don't want to keep it, we will refund your money."
Which is cool.
Uh, it is fantastic. And they also announced that a lot of what was planned for DLC ended up being updates and changes for free for everyone.
Okay.
Obviously, there was a giant expansion. And that's why I said this is my PS5 pick. It's because the expansion is only on PS5. They
Oh,
tried to
okay.
release it. They wanted to release it on PS4. It was just too big. It was not possible.
Dang.
Um, but it was phenomenal. The story in the original game is fantastic. The continuation and the story of the expansion was amazing. You have Idris Elba joining the
Okay.
cast, and he is one of my favorite parts of it all. They have so many new guns, weapons. It's one of those games that redefines how you play because it almost feels like a different game based on the different types of weapons you want to use.
Okay. Like, that was one of those games where I heard the controversy, and I'm like, "Nah, I'm not gonna get it because I bought No Man's Sky, and I heard the controversy, so I
I'm
returned
sorry.
it right away." I was like, "Nope, not getting me." But sometimes it is good to wait, I guess, you know?
Yes, same with No Man's Sky. It's now considered one of the best games ever to
Yeah,
date, and it's still getting updates.
yeah.
Um, so yes, CD Project Red had the same issue with The Witcher 3, which is why I stuck it out,
Okay.
and I'm glad I did. Kudos for them for acting with humility and doing the right thing. And yeah, I think to this day, they're one of the few game companies, especially in this era, where people fully respect them for the business choices. Yes, they made a mistake, but they were the first to admit it. And yeah, I love that game. I still play it from time to time when I have some extra time and I don't know what I want to play. I just throw that on and have a good time.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that it worked out for you and most of the gaming community who have still stuck around playing the game. My number 2 is Marvel's Spider-Man 2. I thought it was a fitting sequel to the first game and the Miles Morales, like, mini spinoff that they did. Definitely really ramped up the action and the villains. You had the symbiotes and, rest in peace, Tony Todd, who voiced Venom. Amazing voice for Venom in that game. Unfortunately, if he does come back in another game, it won't be voiced by Tony Todd, which is sad. Um, Fitting ending if they don't, bring Peter Parker back in the next game, you know I mean, they'll bring him back, but I don't think they'll make him a main player because they definitely wanted to make it a point that Miles Morales was gonna be spearheading the game, at least from what it seemed, the next game or the next couple games from here on out, because Peter needs a break. That's what it is, but that might be the whole thing. Maybe it starts off with Miles by himself, and by the end, he needs help from Peter, but that's my number 2.
So my number three, I think I'm gonna go with Metro Exodus. The Metro series I've loved, and I can't really say that it's the best in the series as far as story is concerned, but as far as gameplay is concerned, it is phenomenal.
Okay,
I thoroughly enjoyed it, and honestly, it's one of those game series that doesn't get nearly enough attention. I know everyone's maybe heard of it or at least seen its artwork as far as like during their advertising campaigns for releases, but not a lot of people know the story, know just the joy of playing that game. It's so addicting and fun. There's survival elements to it, but they don't seem overbearing like a lot of survival games. Um, and there's just a very satisfying level of gameplay. That everything that you want to do, you can do, you
okay.
know? Uh, and this one was made to be a little more open world than the previous games that were far more linear.
Yeah, I've heard of the other Metro games. I didn't even know there was one for PS5.
Yes, and it is good. You should check it out if you ever get a chance. I know you will actually like it. I know the only part of it you wouldn't is the first person view.
Yeah.
But I know you're starting to get over that a bit.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I've like I said, I've heard of the game, don't know anything about it, but you just told me first person, so I'm like, okay. So my number 3 is probably number 3 because I'm playing it currently, which is Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater Delta. Bringing back so much memories. I was not really a fan of number 3. I liked it, but compared to 2 and 1 back in the day, I was like, why is this prequel? We don't need this prequel, and we're in the jungle, which is cool." But coming off of 2, the way they left it, I'm like, "I need a number 3." Like, with Snake, they deprived me of Snake in frickin' 2, and then, yes, I'm playing Snake in 3, but I'm not Solid Snake, I'm freaking Naked Snake, which is Big Boss, not Solid Snake. So, I don't know. It just irked me, but over time, and with the release of this version of the game, it has renewed my interest in Metal Gear, and it's also mended some fences with past thoughts on Metal Gear Solid 3. And
Well, yeah, the very last in the
yeah,
franchise that we got, not that you played it, was Metal Gear Survive, which was just such a horrible stain on the franchise, being that it was going to be its last entry.
yeah, and I still haven't played 5, like I've said before, and I haven't played Survive, and I guess I'm lucky that I didn't. But 3, I have a newfound respect for, and I hope that Konami does the Resident Evil thing and hopefully goes back and fixes 5 so I can play it, or want to play it, and then goes one by one and makes updates every game to the same status or tier of 3 Delta.
Yeah, so I'm
What are
gonna start
your
off with some honorable mentions here. Now, you said Metal Gear Solid Delta, which, yes, was definitely on there.
yeah,
Um, Hogwarts Legacy, I know that it came out in PS4, but I played it the most on number 5. A beautiful game. Anyone who has enjoyed any of the Harry Potter franchise or even just the concept, even if you've never seen anything Harry Potter, that is a game that you can get into regardless. It's its
okay.
own story, it's a prequel, um, and it's just the world. I mean, the world building has already existed, obviously, through other forms of its media, but in its own right, there's world building, there's just everything about it feels natural. It exists like it's real, you know. And the gameplay is fluid, um, and the story is really good. Better than some of the books, I might add.
Ooh,
Um, and
Shade
yeah,
thrown.
yeah, well, you know, not everything's a masterpiece.
Yeah,
But that game is fantastic. And then one other game that I sunk a lot of time into for the PS5 would be Armor Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. It is a great game for people who love mech battles. It is so much fun. It's fast paced. It in its own right is fantastic from start to finish.
okay. Well, my honorable mentions are Dragon's Dogma 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which, like I said, in my opinion, until it's otherwise confirmed, it is a sequel to Final Fantasy VII. And then because I completely forgot about freaking Helldivers for some weird reason, I put Astrobot, which is a game that comes installed on your system, which is a great game. It's a
It
great
is, yes.
platformer. It really is, and it was free. So why not? But yes, Helldivers, I'm right there with you guys. Helldivers is up there, but our bonus PS5 pick, both of us unanimously agree, it's not out yet, but we played the beta, is none
Yeah.
other than Battlefield 6. We can't wait for this
Yeah,
game.
we played the beta, and again, it was one of those that I think I forced you into, didn't I?
Well, no, it was actually you and my other coworker, Chris. So I had 2
Yeah,
Chris's telling me I need to play this game. So,
and yeah, it's just so good. It's addicting.
yes,
It's one of those games that you like every day. I can't wait to get on to see what missions I got, see what new stuff I can do, but also just playing with friends, going through each battle.
blowing
It's so
buildings up.
real. You can do things so much more naturally and creatively. Um, and a lot of it also falls on teammates. How
Yeah.
much of an idiot are they? How well versed in the gameplay are they? Am I gonna have to pull this team or are they gonna help me?
Yeah, it's definitely more of a team play kind of vibe rather than Call of Duty all for one, even though you could be in a team, it's, not each person has their specific, title. But Battlefield 6, I don't want to say it's going to get game of the year, but who knows? Um, Definitely can't wait for it. It's probably going to carry us into next year until Grand Theft Auto's what 6 comes out.
Yeah, I feel like that's gonna have that legendary release that the world stops, the gaming world stops, and everyone just sinks their teeth into it until I don't know. It really depends on how
PS9.
long the next major thing comes out. Yeah, that's sometime at mid 2006, depending on if they stick to their guns or change it again.
And I just want to do a quick shout out to PSP and Vita. PSP, my only mention I'm gonna give for it is God of War Ghost of Sparta. Another filler game, like I said before, for my number one God of War for PS2. You beat God of War 1 that had like other things, and you find out Kratos has a brother. You don't know if that's a true thing or whatever, but Ghost of Sparta, you finally meet his brother, and you see where that journey went. And then for Vita, my mention there is Uncharted Golden Abyss, the forgotten
Yeah.
Uncharted game, which was long for a handheld game. And it boggles my mind that they have not put it on PlayStation, like, 4 or 5 at this point for a remastered version. Un Naughty Dog, you want more money? There you go. Even though it was also Blue Point Games, I think, that helped produce it, but
Yeah, I think
more
part of the
money.
problem is that it was considered a flop. Not necessarily that people didn't buy it, but not enough people bought the Vita in itself to warrant buying the
Yeah,
game, which made it a flop based on that alone. Which is
but
a shame.
that's just here in the States. In Japan, everybody had one. So it's just I
Yeah.
guess now it probably would make more sense because everybody's more handheld oriented now, but I don't know. Did you have anything for PSP or Vita you wanted to say?
PSP. I remember playing Assassin's Creed Bloodlines and
Okay.
enjoying that on the PSP. I also played the remaster of Persona 1, and I enjoyed playing that on there too. For Vita, let's see. Honestly, I'm drawing a blank. I know there were a few games I really enjoyed, Golden Abyss being one of them. Um, but yeah, no, it was a
Uh,
solid platform. They're just very limited library
yeah.
because of the short life it had.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely gave up. That's the problem with Sony recently. They come out with something and then they give up on it. And then I don't know, they're making a PSP2 or something like that. We'll see. I Sony's been faltering and both our eyes for the past couple of years, and Sony needs to get the faith of their
Yeah,
community
they need
back.
to innovate, but they also have to make it accessible.
Yes.
Obviously, the thing that hindered the PS5's launch was COVID itself.
Yeah.
So you can't fault them for that. But the PS3 was just made too expensive.
Yes.
And I understand they have to make a profit from the system. Um, but it was too expensive. It took a very long time for people to start really sinking their teeth into that one. And it really just had to do with time so that, either people could save up or maybe price went down, caught it on sale, whatever the case may be. Um, Same goes for their handhelds, especially Vita. They gave up on it before people had a chance to save up for it, get into it. Again, it was very expensive. Same goes for the PlayStation Eye on PS3 or the PlayStation VR on PS4. They gave up on it before people had a chance
Yeah.
to really experience it. By the time they maybe had the ability to do so, they'd given up on it and it was visible. So why invest in something that's dying?
Yeah. Yeah, and with that, we're really out of time. This is our longest episode to date, Chris. How you feeling?
Oh, I could keep going.
I could too. If I wasn't sick, I would really keep going, but I'm gonna put a stop to this right now because we could be here forever and I gotta work tomorrow. You gotta work tomorrow. I got a cold, so I want to be at my best. So, once again, we are Plot Hole Productions, and if you haven't already, you can catch us on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And once again, I'm your host, Nate Slater,
And I'm Chris Sambrook, and we'll catch you in the
in the
void.
void.